Okay, so Willie J here. I'm back in New Jersey where I was born and raised. I drove through my old hometown today, down Belmar Boulevard, and I realized, like, wow, I really grew up in a leafy suburb, a very white looking leafy suburb. I forgot how white looking and leafy it was. So many leaves hanging down from the trees that I'm like, how did any of us even see each other? It's like we were in the thickets, in the woods, the jungles of Vietnam. Like when the school bus dropped us off at our houses or at our bus stops, like how did we even see each other? It's very tree lined. So I drove past the house where I grew up from about the age of 7 on. They painted it this really weird, ugly green color. But anyway, I'm figuring out a living situation right now. Right now, I'm camping out in the wilderness. So it's just like the country and western days. Today, the way I'm living, it's just like the country and western days. So that's why, like, Cormac McCarthy is my least favorite American writer because he writes westerns that aren't really westerns. It's just pretentious Oprah slop. See, the novel I'm writing now, it's starting to turn into a western. Because what is a western? Like Cormac McCarthy has it. Well, the kid, he was born into the world and he ain't got a thing. He got nothing. So he just started wandering yonder. He yonder wandered. He wandered yondered. And he went 1,000 miles wandering yondering. So see, this kid, he was born into a shack in Tennessee, and he just spends his whole life just wandering around the country, wandering about 1,000 miles yonder, wandering down Colorado way yonder. But see, somebody born like that, there's a good chance, born in a shack in Tennessee, there's a good chance they really wouldn't go very far. So I think, like, because that's kind of like white privilege, like wandering yonder, like going yonder, like traveling yonder. It reeks of white privilege, Cormac McCarthy. See, because the kid would have probably just stayed in the shack his entire life and would have never, like, gone, 10 miles beyond that shack, just living in that shack. And he wouldn't have gone yonder, and he probably wouldn't have even really had the urge to go yonder. He probably would have been a very simple-minded person who didn't really feel the need to go beyond 10 miles of the shack where he was born. So that'd be more like a western. So that's why my novel is turning into a western, because a western, what is it? It can be about isolation and claustrophobia at the same time. And my novel will become increasingly about isolation and claustrophobia. So see, that's why my novel, even though it's really set in New Jersey, a good Western novel can even be set in New Jersey, because in New Jersey, isolation and claustrophobia go hand in hand. So, like, a guy could live in an apartment complex full of, with 5,000 other people, but he's stuck at his job he doesn't like, and he lives in a tiny apartment. He's isolated, and he's suffering from claustrophobia. So he's living more like a cowboy than the guy who wanders and wanders for miles, going over Colorado way yonder, Arizona way yonder, down to New Mexico territory. So anyway, but tonight I really am living it Americana style. I mean, to go from Florida to south of the border, where the fireworks store unfortunately was already closed, but south of the border for me is a holy land. It will always be hallowed ground. To a campsite in New Jersey. Yeah, I'm living the country western life, like uh like Dimebag Darrell from Pantera. He would go to Phil Anselmo and be like, "Come on, man, come on, drink that whiskey, just like the country western days, man. Fired up, fired up." So Phil Anselmo, even though he didn't want to drink that night, he'd go and he'd take a shot of some Crown Royal. Crown Royal isn't very really like cowboy whiskey. And Dimebag Darrell was a very severe alcoholic. But yeah, just like the country and western days, I talked to my therapist because every cowboy has a therapist. So I talked to my therapist today, and even though I'm going through kind of a turbulent time right now, he told me to not drink, even though I'm going through a turbulent time. So um, I was thinking, you know what? I don't want to really drink during a turbulent time, but what if things get stable? If things get stable again, maybe I'll drink something so I can feel like, so it can be like the country western days. Like I can fire up like a cheap cigar and and a bottle of cowboy whiskey and pour down that 90 proof cowboy whiskey, just like the country western days. But for now, I'll just sleep in a tent for the night.